Uh, so after a long time, we're getting together again to start our spiritual discussions. And as usual, we'll keep the questions and comments at the end. Unless there is a specific thing that people don't understand, they can ask. But otherwise, we'll keep it at the end. We had started talking on Namokar mantra, and we did a little bit, and then there was a big break. So I thought it would be better to just capture at least a little fast, so or go over it, so that we can have a good continuity. So Namokar mantra is the first mantra that can introduce you to the vast world of Jainism that we're going to talk for the next several months or years maybe, I don't know. Because there is a lot to learn, and there is a lot to practice and a lot of things to digest from what Mahavir has said. As we will go deeper, we will realize that Mahavir and Buddha and the rest of the religions are so diverse from each other. The way Jainism is being practiced, it has literally merged with Hinduism. Anyone can pick up and say that it's just a branch of Hinduism, but it's not. For the first time in the ancient time, 2500 years back, it was the boldness of Mahavir and Buddha. Mahavir first, because he was born before Buddha, and then Buddha came later. They denounced the existence of God, which was a very, very phenomenal change in the thinking of the overall community, where the religions were being developed, the philosophies were being developed. And they removed the concept of God in two ways. And in that also Mahavir and Buddha differ, because Mahavir does accept the existence of God only at an individual soul level, not as a third party where you can bow down to. So bhakti was taken out in the teachings of Mahavir. And Buddha went to the extent of annihilating completely. There is nothing there. There is no God, not even at an individual level. So there is some difference between Buddha and Mahavir, but both are definitely totally different in denouncing the bhakti. And they had their reasons. It's not that the bhakti was like looked down upon or anything, but they came into existence at the time when bhakti was being misused by the Brahmin caste and things. So as a rebellion against it and as a reality, he wanted the focus of the people to going down within rather than without. And unfortunately, the same great philosophies were being offered, and what Jainism has become now is nothing but bhakti of Mahavir, who said bhakti is not necessary. But people are people, and they're gonna grasp whatever they're gonna grasp, and whatever they can grasp, that's all they're gonna grasp. Unfortunately, Mahavir also could not change people, so what can you say? So the first mantra that will come into the pathway to reach Mahavir will be the Namokar mantra. So as we always chant every week is Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvachayanam. Each one has a specific meaning, and at the end of the explanation of Namokar mantra, you will agree that it is the best mantra in the worlds of mantra. The reason being, it does not pertain to any particular character, any particular god or anything like that, but it bows down to all the Arihant. Namo Arihantanam means I bow down to Arihant. It does not say I bow down to Mahavir or Parshvanath or Adinath. Nothing like that. There is no Vyakti Puja. There is no individual offering to any particular person, but any person who has become Arihant, I bow down to. So it's very universal, very democratic, and it gives a power to all the individual souls and make you realize that anyone can become Arihant. If Mahavir could become Arihant, you can also become Arihant. With that gusto will start. So Namo Arihantanam is I bow down to Arihant. Namo Siddhanam means I bow down to Siddha. And I'll give you the detailed explanation of each later on. Namo Ayariyanam is I bow down to Acharyas, who are actually practicing religion in their day-to-day life. Namo Uvajjayanam, I bow down to Upadhyayas who actually offer the teachings to others, teach to others. And and the next one, Namo Love Savva Sahunam, I bow down to all sadhus and sadhvis. It doesn't say Jain sadhus or Jain sadhvis, all the sadhus and all the sadhvis. And Eso Panch Namokaro, these 5 bowing downs, and it says, what does it do for you? Savva Pava Panasano, it destroys all your sins. And after that it says, Mangalanam cha savvesing padam havai mangalam. Amongst all that is auspicious, this is the most auspicious of the mantra. And again, like I said, they have their reasons to say that. And I think we will agree with that. So Mahavir is like a big pinnacle. He's on the top of the mountain. It almost looks like unreachable. But if we keep on worshipping the peak of a mountain, we'll never make it to the tip. We have to know the path. And the paths have been lost in the psyche of the people who have been doers for many years. And they think that by offering this, by doing these mantras, I'm going to reach to Mahavir. They don't know that they are on the wrong path right from the beginning. The path that connects to the Mahavir, it goes within. We are on a different path already. If we just bowing down to Mahavir, chant few Namokar mantras and think that we're going to reach where the Mahavir is, that's wrong. Once Mullah Nasruddin was traveling in a train. He just boarded the train in a first-class compartment. There was nobody else. The last minute, an old lady came in, and they both are traveling. As soon as the train started, Mullah Nasruddin is crying. He's very upset. He's heaving and sobbing. And so the old lady said, maybe he's just missing some near ones. So she thought that it's better to give him some private moments so he will settle down. But the train goes. This was like one of those long journeys, several days journey. So all day Mullah Nasruddin keeps on crying. So she figures that maybe some really near one might have been lost or something like that. So the next morning she wakes up. It's still traveling the train. He's still crying and heaving and sobbing and could not really control himself. And second day comes, and finally third day, the lady could not take it anymore. She says, I'm going to have to ask him what's going on. What is the problem? So she goes and puts her hand on his shoulder. He says, is there anything I can do? What is your cause of your suffering? He says, I've been traveling in the wrong train for last 3 days. I don't know what to do. He could have gotten off the train, but he does not get off the train, but he keeps on suffering, knowing that he's on a wrong train. He keeps on going, and his suffering never ends. But we all are Mullah Nasruddins. We all are traveling towards sansar. We are all traveling towards material mind, material world. And we think that we are on the right track, and we're suffering.
તમારી રનિંગ ક્લબ બંધ થઈ જાવ.
So you telling we are suffering wrong train?
I'll keep the comments at the end also, please. Please, no comments during the talk, please. It will just keep the synchronicity better. I think will be better. So we all are traveling on a wrong train, and once in a while a fast bullet train passes by like Mahavir or Buddha or Krishna, and we say, what the hell happened? We cannot even have a concept. How did he make it there? So it's the first time we're going to realize that our direction is wrong. Then only we will be able to do something about it. So this is the whole idea of the path that Mahavir himself had taken. He himself was riding on the wrong train. He was a prince. He had everything at his disposal. Whatever he wanted, he could have it. But he realized that it was a futile efforts that he was doing to go in the direction where the train was not taking him anywhere. And for the first time he woke up and he went into seclusion. He went in within himself to find out where ultimately the relief from all the sufferings of the life is hidden. And as we go further, we will realize that too. So it says, Eso Panch Namokaro Savva Pava Panasno. All the sins will be destroyed by this mantra. What does it mean? If the mantras can be chanted just casually, Do you think it's going to destroy your sins? That means all the robbers and murderers are going to go free just because they chanted Namokar mantra 1,000,000 times or 2,000,000 times or something like that? It's not that way. Our body, as we already know, is made out of several sheaths. One is the food sheaths, Annamaya Kosha. Then there is the Pranamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha is useless. It just comes from food, goes back to the food. There is a continuous rotation. Unless what makes it different from the other situation, animals and things like that, unless you have a Pranamaya Kosha, the Annamaya Kosha is useless. You need energy. The energy that circulates throughout does make our limbs work, our eyes work, our tongue works, all these things. Behind that there is energy. But energy, what good is that unless you have thoughts? Thoughts will direct the energy, which direction, which the action should be ultimately done at the body level. So that's your, the Pranamaya Kosha is controlled by the Manomaya Kosha. But the Manomaya Kosha is the bunch of thoughts. There could be all disorganized thoughts, but unless they have a specific direction to go to, that direction comes from Vijnanamaya Kosha, which actually does the ideas and your bhavs and all those things. Bhav determines your vichar and vichar determines your kriya. We already know that. So ultimately, but this is all we know. We have never gone beyond, because beyond that is a bliss sheath. We have never experienced the bliss sheath. And until the bliss sheath is experienced, we have never realized the power that it can have. Because if you really think about it, every single thought that we have is infused with energy that's coming from the higher. Even your ideas, your beliefs, your bhavs, all are infused with the energy from the bliss sheath. So until you get a handle of the bliss sheath, all the things are going to remain disorganized. Your mind will say this way, your thoughts will say this way, all your actions are going to be disorganized. It will not have the power that's coming from the top. So that's why this mantra at least should be chanted at the bhav level. Unless, because that's all we know. That's only how far as we can go. But if all the mantras, not just this mantra, if they are chanted at the bhav level, then the bhav will control your thoughts, thoughts will control your kriya, and then kriya will ultimately manifest itself outside. So that synchronization is very necessary to understand and put the seed of that mantra within you. When you carry out a bad action, say you want to hurt someone, somehow at that level, all our synchronization is always there. When we want to do krodh, when we want to do anger on someone, yeah, you hate the guy, your thoughts are like that and your actions are also like that. But when we want to donate something, that's another story. Because body says, yes, I should donate because it looks good. But my mind says, I don't want to donate because I don't want to donate. So that dissynchronization, disconnect, is not taking you anywhere. You're breaking down your whole psyche, and really there are no material, there is no gain anywhere, definitely no progress on the spiritual side. So when we put the bhav into these mantras, every single word of that mantra can be chanted at the bhav level. And when you say Namokar, you're bowing down to the siddhas, you're bowing down to arihants, you're bowing down to, at that time you're synchronizing whole psyche of yourself, the bhav, vichar, kriya, everything into that, and then powerful thing happens. Your inner atmosphere starts clearing up. Your inner atmosphere resonates the divinity, and all that state of the existence that Mahavir had reached, you can understand that. And once you understand that, it gets deposited as a tiny seed within you. And then, with the continuous efforts, little by little, it fosters into a beautiful plant, and then you can have a big tree of spirituality. Then ultimately can really change your life completely. Mahavir does not put too much of an effort on kriya. Kriya is the end result according to Mahavir. He says Shastras and Shastras are filled with niti. These are the instructions given by the Shastras. You do this, you do this, you behave like this, you should not do krodh. Mahavir said that has no value. He puts it so beautifully in 4 words. He changes the whole anatomy of how you can reach to the level where he has reached. He says first is dhyan. He puts dhyan first. Dhyan is the only where you can actually go within and you can receive Jnana. And if you ask any Jain what Jnana is, you're going to get totally wrong answer. The Jnana means knowledge, that traditionally we know knowledge as is knowledge of something. That means you and that something else is two separate things. And we call that knowledge. And traditional world, it's fine. If I don't have a knowledge how to become a doctor, if somebody teaches me how to become a doctor, I become a doctor. That's nothing new. Somebody gave me something, I practiced something, there is no big deal. But Mahavir describes Jnana as being aware that you are able to see the whole process of knowledge, the traditional knowledge, how it is, you become aware how the memory is stored at the mind level, and you repeat the use of that memory and lets you function in the world. Whether you are a fisherman or you are a doctor or an engineer, doesn't matter. But when you can separate yourself from the mind, which is the storehouse of all this memory, then you realize that you have a separate existence. Animals also, based on their limited memory, they function. They can function, but they can never be aware that they are doing this. So being aware, that he calls it Jnana. Jnana means your ability to perceive how the thoughts are bringing the memory, how the memory is being utilized, and what kind of results is bringing in. This separation starts, but that happens only at the dhyan level. In Jainism, the importance of dhyan is almost to the last. There is no importance because bhakti is there. Why do you need dhyan? So nobody believes in dhyan. And Mahavir puts dhyan as number one. From dhyan, you develop jnana. The jnana is something that's your own self-discovery. Computers can match your memory, multiply that 10 million times easily. They say 10,000 top-notch scientists, if they want to do some calculations, they will sit together for 10 years, and what they will come up with, computers can do in 1 second. All these supercomputers, they can do marvelous things. But that's playing of the memory. Mahavir calls that memory Pudgal. Pudgal is the only word that ever was coined which actually describes the process. In traditional way, the Pudgal is matter, kind of. But matter is material. Matter means it can be metered. It came from the word meter, that it can be measured. So any solid things is described by Mahavir as Pudgal. But if you break down the word Pudgal, it's beautiful, because Pud is the birth, Gal is destruction. He says what you are seeing is only a temporary phenomenon between the birth and the death. And birth and death not as a fixed event, is a continuous process. A big rock could be sitting in a river. Flow of the river is continuously taking a grain particle of that huge stone at a time. You can say the stone is only a temporary phenomenon. And yet at the another extreme there was a lava. It was nothing but a liquid lava that solidified into a stone. But as soon as that stone was born, grain by grain the stone is evaporating, and before you know, it will become grain of sand. So he calls all the matter as Pudgal. And it's a phenomenal word because there is no other word like that in any other language, ever was and never will be. Because you need the concept understood totally deeply. You have to have that awareness that everything around you is Pudgal. And in fact, he puts thoughts as Pudgal, memory as a Pudgal. Now nobody had thought about all these things. He calls thoughts material, because thoughts also change. Thoughts are Pudgal. So with this concept and realization of this context, you have to understand that every single thing is changing. Now, when every single thing is changing, of course that includes our body, that includes our mind, and the whole world, galaxies or universe or whatever is continuous. You cannot even say that the thing is changing. We perceive as a thing, but there is nothing but a flow. There is a continuous flow of whatever you call around the energy that is being manifest, unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. It's a continuous process. Now you ask yourself, if a change is happening in front of you, whoever is perceiving the change, wouldn't that tattva has to be steady? If you are sitting on a train at 120 miles an hour, and another train is also traveling at 120 miles an hour, same time, same speed, you cannot tell that you are moving. We are moving right now, 50,000 miles per hour with the rotation of the earth itself, and the earth is rotating around the sun, and the sun is going around in the galaxy, and galaxies, all these movements are happening as we speak, but we don't perceive it because we are moving. So there is some tattva that is not moving, and Mahavir says that's where the storehouse of the bliss is. And with that idea, we should start our journey to go within. So, Om Namo Arihantanam. Arihants are described as someone who has destroyed his enemies. Now, this is the language of Kshatriya, because all the 24 Tirthankars were Kshatriya. And someone says, why in a non-violent religion like Jainism, why do we have a language of destructions or violence, that you killed your enemies? But the difference is the enemies are within you. All the enemies which we perceive outside